Welcome everybody to another video. Today we are talking about Tremors
Devil May
2.
Cry anime. Yes, you got that right. We finally both watched the anime on Netflix. Why are you shaking your head, sir?
As usual, the email I sent to Nick Arcana was completely ignored. The man watched his own thing and told me, hey, let's do this. And I said, no, read your email. Tremors 2 was this week's topic, not your Devil May Shed Tears animation thingamajigger you're talking about, buddy.
Come on, man. It's a. Have you never played Devil May Cry the game? It's a great time to talk about the anime that just released like last week, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
The fact that I haven't may make you cry, but it makes me smile. Happy tears, if anything. If I cry, it's gonna be happy tears because I am not wasting my time on your devil worship game, okay?
Nothing about worship is making devils cry, man.
All right, making some mass assumptions true. Okay, well, before we kill the audience with something that has nothing to do with Tremors 2, let's talk about Tremors 2. Now, I'm a huge, amazingly big fan of the first Tremors, so it makes absolutely no sense that I never, ever in my life bothered watching the Tremors sequels. You would think at least at one time in my life, I would have stuck the VHS, the DVD, the Sci-Fi Channel, the USA Network. Tremors 2 was always on TV too, but I'd flip the channel and move on because no Kevin Bacon meant I didn't care.
And folks, it was hard to talk him into just doing Tremors, honestly, because every year I'd bring it up. It's like, hey, our very first video on this channel is the first Tremors. Why not review Tremors 2? And he goes, no, no one likes that.
I was sadly poorly misguided. You know, you start hearing about Tremors 4, 5, 6, 7. You hear all this stuff about it becoming a terrible series. You see so many sequels. You just wash your hands clean of all of it. And you group them all into being like one of those bad horror franchises, cough, Children of the Corn, that just goes on forever and is terrible. But what I didn't know was that Tremors 2, not to say it's comparable to the first one, but it's not in the same category as the rest of them. It's actually considered a very high quality sequel. So I was grouping Tremors 2 in with like the rest of the lot. And I haven't seen those, so I can't say they're bad or good, but certainly Tremors 2 gets a lot of respect online. So that started being like, okay, well, I don't know about the entire series, but maybe I'll start with Tremors 2, see how that goes, and then kind of go. So basically I came in very optimistic about Tremors 2 because I read good things about it online. And also, even though we're missing Kevin Bacon, the fact that we have Fred Ward and we have some returning characters from the first movie, and just watching the first movie recently, I was like, hey, why not? Let's deep dive into the rest of the Tremors franchise. Again, making no guarantees that we're gonna visit all the sequels, but I'm down now to try as many, I guess, as possible.
Sure.
Yeah.
I bought the whole 7 movie box set.
Immediately when I showed the enthusiasm, Nick Arcana went ahead and got was it a 7-pack?
Yes. All 7 movies, including Shrieker Island. We watching them.
Damn it, man. Damn it. Okay, I'm committing right here on screen. The entire Tremors franchise will be reviewed. Now,
eventually.
Keep in mind, we still got to finish Children of the Corn. What is there anything else we need to finish outside that?
I mean, we started doing reactions to Leprechaun, but at the same time, those are best just to leave for like St. Patty's days.
Yeah, Leprechaun will be finished over the course of the next 3 St. Patrick's Day, probably. But Children of the Corn, I think probably we'll push the rest off until Thanksgiving-ish time. It's so hard to find Thanksgiving horror movies. We might as well just group Children of the Corn into the November month as if they're Thanksgiving movies, even though they're technically not.
I still gotta get the last 4, so
those might be hard to find. I'd be surprised. Did they even give those DVD releases like those sci-fi ones?
Oh. Yes, they did. They're on Amazon. Problem is, they're overpriced as fuck. That's why I haven't gotten them yet.
Well, if they're overpriced, then I'm assuming you're saying they're $5 because anything more than $1 feels. Oh my god, that's not overpriced. That's highway robbery. That's tied into the Saw chair and Jigsaw saying you must pay this amount of money for the Children of the Corn. That is just torture. And I don't think those movies are. I mean, I haven't watched them, but I'd be surprised if the quality exceeds the $5 bin at Walmart. So.
Yeah, well, at least one of them is, I believe, still on Netflix or Hulu, so I
Oh,
don't have to spend money on that.
maybe by the time we watch them, they'll have come over to Tubi, and we can watch them on Tubi.
Hopefully. Anyway, so back to Tremors 2.
So Tremors 2. Okay, so let me get into some background about Tremors 2. So,
Fred Ward returns.
okay, let me get into some real background beyond just the very, very basic thing that Nick Arcana just said. So, for the original, to know about Tremors 2, we have to go back to Tremors 1 for a moment. Tremors 1, which came out in 1990, was not a big hit. Was essentially a fail at the box office, even though it made, I think, somewhere between 14 to 17 million, I believe, at the box office. It just wasn't a hit in the way they were expecting per se. But as with many old movies in the 80s and 90s, thanks to the home video revolution, renting movies, buying movies on video became such a big boom craze late 80s and in the 90s that even if a movie failed in the theaters, it could still make its money back on home video and then also being played on TV. And Tremors was a huge success in the 90s, making its money back hand over fist through home video rentals and sales. So then Universal was like, hey, okay, now a sequel is actually looking good. So they originally budgeted the sequel at 17 million. And the creators of Tremors 2 said, 17 million? Oh, we can throw money at Reba. We can throw money at Kevin Bacon. We're bringing back the whole damn crew for Tremors 2. And then Universal said, actually, on second thought, we've ran the numbers and you get 4 million. And they said, 4 million? Oh, Reba gone. No more Reba. Now, the Kevin Bacon thing, there's different stories here. So I'll give you each one to the audience and you can determine which your favorite, why Kevin Bacon didn't do it explanation. Okay. There's a version where they had a script with Kevin Bacon in it. They offered it to him and he wanted to do it, but he had got offered the movie Apollo 13, which is like a high-end space movie with Tom Hanks. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Supporting character in like a movie that's going to win Oscars, Apollo 13 or Tremors 2. He picked Apollo 13. That's one version where Kevin Bacon wants to do it, but it's just not available. There's another version of just strictly that because of the budget reasons, they just couldn't offer the money to Kevin Bacon. So again, that's there. Maybe he still wants to do it, but we only have 4 million to work with. At this time, Kevin Bacon's a big enough star where he's maybe getting at least 1 million or 2 million. So if he's getting like 1 million or 2 and you have a 4 million budget, doesn't leave much for anything else. The third final version, unconfirmed, but Kevin Bacon himself said that after Tremors came out, because it failed the box office, he felt like his career was over. And for at least a couple years afterwards, he hated Tremors because he blamed it for, he thought maybe killing his career. And then within the last 10 years, he's watched the movie, become a huge fan of it. Now he's all on the Tremors bandwagon. So there's 3 different versions out there about why Kevin Bacon's not in it. They all sort of make sense.
Apollo 13.
That makes sense because Apollo 13 did film around the same time this film, so it makes sense that he just couldn't do this movie no matter what. It also makes sense that if they had the 17 million, maybe they could have offered him enough money to be like, space or $5 million. Like I don't know how much money he was like getting at that time, so maybe they could throw a huge bag at him and convince him not to go to space and to go to the town of perfection instead, or I guess Mexico in this case.
I was about to say Mexico. Perfection wasn't in this one. We do. It makes you feel better. We do go back eventually.
I should mention also that Reba, I guess, was doing her TV show, so it's a much more simpler explanation for her. She just couldn't do it because she wasn't available.
To be fair, how many people really were mad that Reba didn't return?
I think if you watch that first movie, you love Bert and her as a couple. It's not just Bert; you love them as a pairing. They're such a good husband-wife team. I think you'd have had the same exact Bert role, but then she's along for the ride in these sequels if that happened. They would have loved to have Reba. The original script apparently, again, one version is there actually is a script out there, Tremors 2, that has Reba and Kevin Bacon in it. They just couldn't use it. They had to write them out. And it was going to take place in Australia. The Kevin Bacon version also specifically said it would take place in Australia. Yeah. That or they're going to film in Australia, one of the two.
Film in Australia with the giant spiders, because there are areas of Australia you can make look like potentially Mexico.
Right. And if all else fails, you just go to Vancouver, Canada, and you can make that look like anything. So,
Yeah,
all right.
but I will
Now,
say the movie decided
yeah,
to turn our Kevin Bacon into fake bacon.
huh?
So for some reason, Grady felt like just a Kevin Bacon knockoff of
Oh,
someone of what Earl most likely had to deal with when he first met Val.
oh, I, I can't stress enough how big of a downgrade it is from Kevin Bacon to Grady. Grady feels like, first of all, because completely like a sidekick. One thing, but then also not even a fun sidekick. I'm not a of the things of the many compliments I'm gonna give the movie. Grady is not one of those compliments. Um, Thankfully, I was gonna say 17 million or 4 million. It doesn't get you Kevin Bacon. It doesn't get you Reba, but it does get you Fred Ward, and that's okay. That's all we need here is Fred Ward. Um,
What about Michael Gross?
Michael Gross for sure, 100%. Actually, I'll give most of the compliments to Michael Gross, but so the movie filmed in 1994, which is only a couple years after the first one. So in a timely manner, they're trying to get the sequel out. They filmed the movie with the idea 4 million of coming to direct to video. They had made the decision Universal to do direct to video. They film it, they screen it for test audiences, and the reviews come back through the roof. The fans love it. The fans are like, "Oh my god, Tremors 2 is everything." And the creators petition Universal to make it a theatrical release. Like, "Hey, let's keep the Tremors franchise in theaters." Universal says, let us think about it." So instead of coming to video in 1994, the movie sits on the shelf until 1996. 2 years where they're like, we're thinking about either theaters or home video. And they're like, bro, it's been 2 years now. We made the movie 2 years ago. Just release the damn thing. Yeah, we'll put it in theaters in 1999. I don't know what Universal was like. Just though they shelved it with the idea of like, we'll figure this out later. I know all the fans are saying it's a great movie, but all that to still just release it to video in 1996. So you took 2 years to think about it. It's like, just throw it on video. So when a movie comes straight to video, it doesn't mean it's a bad movie, but it signals to the audience that something isn't like it's not. It almost sends a message like, don't expect this to be as good as the first one. If the first one's in theaters, the second one comes to video, even before you watch it, you're kind of like, oh, my expectations are a little bit lower. It's
It just
weird. It's the
for
same
me,
movie,
it
but
just tells me the company itself just wants to do away with it. It's on their shelves. They need more room on the shelves, so they're just like, yeah, here you go.
I want to mention that usually what I'm saying is right though. Usually the direct to video movies, they look like direct to video, but they actually usually are lower quality. But not always. Sometimes it is just the kind of this decision where it's like it's on the borderlines. They're like, okay, could be theatrical or video. We just choose video. This is one of those cases. A lot of times, direct to video does actually mean like super low budget, low quality. But it's more about I just think like when you go in knowing it's direct to video, if you tell someone that, they're just like, all right, I'm not expecting much. Which maybe worked in this favor because knowing it was direct to video again, I watched it with the idea of like, okay, but this definitely could have came to theaters. I'll say it. I'll say it right now. This was worthy of a theatrical release. This would have been a fun movie to see in theaters. All that said, um,
Can
yeah.
we fix the CGI before we did that?
Well, unfortunately, in 1994, something like this was gonna be mostly practical effects still, but certain things CGI was kind of floating the atmosphere. So if you get your hands on CGI, you used it for certain things. But with the low budget, you're probably getting the worst of the CGI. Badly made CGI, let's say. All that said, the audience when you first watch the movie, you're just going from Tremors 2, you see Fred Ward, there's no Kevin Bacon. Now, the same way I said that Reba and Bert were like a perfect pairing, I mean, Earl and Val are like a classic buddy comedy duo. Like you also like, oh, we can have like it's like Rush Hour, Jackie Chan, Chris. Like we have a great franchise of just those two having great chemistry and do all the sequels to that. So it is a little bit disappointing not to have Kevin Bacon. Were you satisfied with the explanation for his character in terms of like, thankfully they just didn't say like a graboid had like killed him between movies, but were you satisfied with him just living the married life somewhere else?
I will say yes, What I also liked is after you give him all the info about Kevin Bacon not returning, is literally as they're trying to convince Earl to come back, the guy who's offering him the job is like, "Well, we asked the other guy, he refused." He's like, "Yeah."
Holy cow! That's a great point. Maybe that was like a meta thing, like him being married in this movie was his, being married to Apollo 13 or something, so, that's you know what they did though? They did a smart thing though. That explanation leaves it like, so, hey, he could come back in future sequels if he wants. Like, we didn't do anything to his character where he can't still come back in the future if he wants. It's
Well,
like he's
remember,
just
he was supposed to
busier.
come back for a series.
Yeah, but that series was going to unfortunately do like the Halloween thing where they disregard all the sequels and act like only the first movie happened. So that movie might have pissed off the or that series might have pissed off the fans a little bit because it would be eliminating all the sequels from the canon. Well, basically a different timeline essentially, like the
Yeah.
Halloween
Plus,
franchise.
plus when that series was coming out, you would they obviously didn't get Fred Ward because I think
Yeah,
he was too old to act at that point. He passed away. I think what a year after that pilot episode was actually
yeah,
filmed.
yeah. I think Tremors fans actually, I would guess Tremors fans have more loyalty to Michael Gross now than they would Kevin Bacon. I feel like it's kind of like Kevin Bacon's like the Jamie Lee Curtis, but Michael Gross is like the Dr. Loomis. He's like there for like all the sequels, well, the highs and lows of the franchise. He becomes our main character. So I would guess like a true Tremors fan is like when you think of Tremors, they think of Michael Gross. They don't think of Kevin Bacon. There are people like me who just like love the first movie, haven't watched that, and we're just like, yeah, Kevin Bacon's back. But I would say like the hardcore Tremors fan would be like, yeah, that's a Michael Gross series. Like he's the main dude of the series.
Well,
Just
Michael Gross was the main guy in the Tremors TV series.
yeah, that blows my mind that there's actually like an old TV show, a Tremors TV show with him as well. Like this dude did like all the movies and then also has a TV show too. Amazing.
Yes.
Have you watched any of his TV show?
I have not, because I was originally about to buy the TV show because there was
Yeah.
a Blu-ray pack of the movies and the show.
Yeah.
Problem is they wanted like 60, $70 for it. I'm like, nah, I'll
Is it
just
just
stick with my like 25 Tremors 7 pack.
is it just one season?
One or two, I can't remember. I've never seen it.
Uh, So it's like they did the show, and then when they ended, they just went back to doing the movies. I feel like it's very
Pretty
interesting.
much. I mean, the show is supposed to take place. The show, from what I understand, takes place after the third movie because it
Mm,
was made between third and four. Yeah, it was just supposed to be pretty much Adventures of Bert versus all the Tremors and all the Graboids, the Shriekers, the Ass Blasters.
mm. Okay.
I'm pretty sure they all. The thing is, the reason I don't think I ever watched is I'm pretty sure it aired on Sci-Fi.
Ah, okay.
And even though
Now,
sci-fi back in the day was great, but that was mainly
yeah,
for low budget sci-fi movies. When it comes to series, it usually took a very tanky downhill.
yeah. I think after I watch all the movies, I might be curious then to check out the TV show just to be like, okay, is it like because the TV show because it has Michael Gross, I'm sure it has to be canon with the sequels.
It
Like
is.
it's all the same universe. So I'd be curious to maybe check that out as well, but not at the cost of $60. That it better be on Tubi or somewhere I can watch it without paying that much money for it. Um,
Good luck with that.
so okay, now we may agree to disagree, but I do think without saying her name, I do think they want the audience to make you think that he married Rhonda, that Val married Rhonda. It's only the movie timeline wise actually only takes place 4 years after the first movie. Like it was filmed 1994, so we can say it's 4 years after the first movie. Maybe within the movie it's a different timeline, but um I think that's the implication. Now,
Now
we d
they mentioned he just married a good woman, which tells me maybe I don't know if the script originally planned to also bring Rhonda back, or they were just planning on just Kevin Bacon still being a bachelor at this point for
yeah.
this in the original script. But them saying, "Oh, he married a good woman," tells me, well, if they can't get Rhonda back, one of the best
Hey,
ways to do it is just say he was married to some random woman.
now this is very similar to the Scream franchise where like Sydney without Kincaid being there. they said, "How's Mark doing?" indicating that she's married to Mark, and now you drop the
It's kind of
ball
a shot.
by he's not coming back to it, so it's like kinda
Yeah, they kind of shot themselves in the foot because they were probably hoping that if they ever did do that. Because let's face it, when fans heard the word "How's Mark doing," fans of the movie of Scream was happy about it. It's like, oh, she did marry Mark. Because
yeah,
remember, in
so
part four, you never hear anything about that. It's just Mark disappeared.
so the script writers of Scream 6 or Scream 5, they clearly did not watch Tremors 2, otherwise, Dewey could have said, "Sydney, you married a good man," and just left it at that. Now, no fan controversy, we don't know who she's married to, we're happy, so they did do it perfectly where it could be Rhonda or it could not be. The only confirmation we would have gotten is we could see Kevin Bacon's character in the TV show that didn't get picked up because they filmed that first episode. There would have been something in that first episode to tell us, like, is
What
he
happened to
married to Rhonda
Rhonda?
or not? Because she wasn't in the show, I don't think. But
Well, then he didn't marry her, at least the show wise.
but if the show's 30 years later, they could be divorced, right? So we don't know.
But they fought giant penis worms together. I mean, come
Yeah.
on now.
Yeah.
That,
Well,
that brings people together. Okay.
no, in divorce court, people cite uh, financial concerns, irreconcilable things. They don't say, the judge doesn't say, before I grant this divorce, you guys fought big dick worms together, so you should stay together. And that's
Yeah,
not what happened.
exactly.
So maybe they should, but the judge never says that. So,
Damn
all
that
right.
joke.
So Fred Ward here, 1994, looking exactly like 1990, except he's grown his hair out. But still
And he
dressed
has
as Sam.
ostriches.
Has ostriches, which he has no idea how to take care of them, apparently. Has no
He
idea
didn't.
what he's doing. So,
He didn't go onto the internet to look up ostrich care.
and when we meet Earl, apparently him and Val did get some celebrity from the first movie. They have their picture on the cover of People magazine, but apparently Earl did not hire a good business manager or an accountant or somebody to look out for his interests because there's been video games made and all this stuff made about graboids, and he hasn't seen a penny and he's broke.
So
So
the question is does the same thing happen to Val? Because remember, Val was seeing Earl as kind of a mentor
yeah.
the whole time. So if Earl didn't do it, because most likely I guarantee Earl didn't want to hire a lawyer because like, well, they're just going to waste money.
So
So
so the two thing the only hint there is that if Val had became rich and Earl was not rich, because I feel like they would have done everything together, but I feel like something there would have caused bad blood then. But by how Earl references Val, it seems like they're on good terms. Just he's married to a good woman, but I don't sense any kind of like resentment or like, oh yeah, that rich mother trucker, he took the money and I'm here. Like there was nothing that there. That's the only hint that they're on good terms. So I think with Val, the thing is though, he married Rhonda, so he married to money probably. 'Cause I think
well, he didn't marry him. He married a woman who got herself a good job after
yeah.
school.
Yeah. No matter what, Val's not gonna be back to like, doing those jobs with Earl anymore. I think he's on to greener pastures. So that's one thing. But yeah, I assume that they both got screwed out of whatever. He should be getting a paycheck for that Graboids video game like every month in royalties, and that's clearly not happening. And thus, our plot begins because there's some Graboid shenanigans happening in Mexico.
Yep, graboids are eating people in Mexico. We see that in the very first scene with an oil worker who is straddling an oil line and then jumping oil barrels. And then when he falls, instead of getting up and running, he just sits there and accepts death.
Clearly, he didn't see the first Tremors movie. His reaction here is as if he hasn't seen the first Tremors movie. What are you doing, man?
I mean, he sees something underneath the ground coming after him. I mean, I don't care if I can outrun the thing or not. I'm going to try.
Well, fortunately, he's one of many who have died. And now the people that run things in Mexico, they've decided that there's only one course of action. They must find the man who defeated the Graboids and offer him money. And they do. but Kevin Bacon turns him down. He thought,
Just because Earl,
they went to Val first because Val is the one who actually defeated the Graboids, not Earl.
well, he defeated what? He defeated one.
Mhm.
Technically, altogether, they defeated the third one.
Yeah.
The first one, I think, was kind of a combo between Val and Earl just running from it, and they just happened to fall into a like a bunker.
So my guess is that that article where they were on the cover of the article, they had written an article about all the events of the first movie. So they interviewed everybody there, all this stuff. So when these people in Mexico read that article, they got the impression that Val was the main guy and Earl was a sidekick. As we watched Tremors 1, we're like, yeah, Val's the main guy, Earl's sidekick. They got the same impression. So they go to Val first to like, hey man, like help us with this thing. And Val's like, look, I got that Rhonda money. I don't need your how much is Rhonda money? Enough for him to turn down that much. Was it $50,000 per graboid?
50,000 per graboid killed, 100,000 per each one caught alive.
That's why I think Val's doing okay because say if he was like that 50,000, I feel like Val might have been like, all right, Rhonda, just I'll be back in 3 months. I don't know.
Well, let's face it, if with that kind of money, to be fair, I probably also, because remember in the first movie, these graboids actually were for the most part dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
They were things that would learn from their mistakes or learn from others' mistakes and constantly try to one up you as you go. They weren't just your typical animal that was acting on instinct. So yeah, I would have turned it down too because after the first couple, it's like, okay, now they're going to learn about whatever plan I'm doing, and then kill me.
Now, let's get into the idea of just like if you are the Mexico rich people, your idea is to hire the person who took out the graboids. But Earl and Val, they're not graboid hunters. It's not
No,
like they have years of doing this. They had one encounter years ago, well, I guess 4 years ago, where they basically got lucky ish.
so I will bring up because they bring up to them like, look, the military is going to give us anything we need. I'm thinking the military is going to supply y'all. Why the hell aren't they just doing it?
Yeah, this sounds like a bigger thing than just like random Mexican rich cartel dude offering Earl money to go hunt them. This sounds like the Mexican military is like, whoa, our country is about to be infested with graboids. Let's actually take care of this. Feels like to be a bigger operation than Earl sitting on his truck with these stupid dynamite things. Doing like, come on now. You made a point though. Like the whole thing with the first movie is that the graboids get smarter as things go on, right?
Yes.
They react to things, they get smarter. It's one of the good things about the script of the first movie is that the characters have to keep outsmarting the graboids as they get smarter. The first half, well, let's say the first 45 minutes of this movie is Earl tasked with, okay, I have to kill graboids. He takes a bunch of his dynamite, takes his new sidekick Grady, which I don't like, and very easily just starts killing all the graboids with no
So
pushback.
I can think of two reasons for this.
Yeah.
Again, the plot doesn't spell it out. It's also possible that this is all going to be bullshit. But the two reasons is the first one is usually when they do this with the graboids, only one is around at a time. Whereas in that first movie with the same bomb trick, both of them were around. So the second one did, see what happened to that first one.
Right.
This one, they're all coming at them one at a time, like a martial arts movie.
So this one, we don't know how spread out the areas either, I guess, right? Is it
right?
Are these graboids in one little town in Mexico, or is it like, I don't know?
Nah, but then there's the second thought, my second thought, which I thought about this as I was watching a movie today. What if it's because of the shriekers that are inside of them? What you learn in halfway through this movie is they are like pregnant-ish or like some kind of, to me, they seem more like a parasite to me. But either way, these graboids have shriekers inside of them. So now they're eating more and more to try and get, like they're pregnant. So they're going to eat as much as they want. So that's all they're thinking about. They're not thinking, oh, this thing is killing us. Let's stay away from that area.
So we're thinking the Graboids in the first movie didn't have anything to do with the Shriekers. They were just, like, not at that point yet, or being pregnant, whatever it is, where they would have had a different mindset.
Right.
Um, it feels to me like the movie was like, they're like, "All right, Graboids, that's from part 1. We're gonna show you some Graboids, but we're gonna move on to the real villain. The real threat in this movie is the Shriekers. So let's just, like, play around with the Graboids." You kinda make them seem not harmless, but almost like, "Oh, these things are nothing." Like, maybe they should have, like, had them kill more people at the beginning of this movie, just to keep them as a threat still, but it does feel like they're just, like, transitioning to the real threat, the real villain, the Shriekers. So the first part of the movie, just when you get a montage of all the Graboids blowing up, you just start to think like, "Oh, why were we ever scared of Graboids in the first place?
And
These things are, like, just harmless little pissant bugs, like, just."
it's even funnier because then you get the one that ate the radio, so you're expecting that to be just like in the first movie with it being Stumpy.
Mhm,
You're thinking the one that ate the radio is going to be your main villain because that one actually was smart.
mhm,
It snuck up on them. It grabbed something and pulled them. It stopped at a cliff nonetheless, so it knew there was a cliff there.
mm.
So it definitely seems smarter up until, but that was also just a plot point to get Bert involved now.
And thankfully so, because even though I like Fred Ward, his dynamic with Grady was not enough. The movie, I think, was going to fail if it was just them 2. Bert is the spark plug of energy and fun this movie needs. So the second he gets that call in the basement, is given new life because he's been depressed because Reba left him to go pursue her TV show slash music career. They
Of
didn't mention
course.
that, but that's what happened. As soon as he gets that and Bert's back on board, Michael Gross, by far watching the movie, I can understand why when they went to do more sequels, they were like, okay, all we need is Michael Gross. I mean, it'd been nice to get Fred Ward back, but Michael Gross brings the comedic relief. He's funny, over the top, perfect addition to this movie. Steals the movie, I would say for sure. You could have got rid of. For me personally, I would have had somebody kill Grady. I would have had one of the monsters kill Grady halfway through, just to establish that this is like a real threat. We're gonna have one of our supposed main characters taken out. Would have been nice, and you
Well,
could
I
have just
mean,
rolled with Michael Gross, Fred Ward, and the woman. So
well, we'll see. Say this: when the Shriekers come in, they take out two people, take out all the vehicles and the radio tower, all in the span of less than 24 hours. They have to be a
now,
threat to like inanimate objects.
now I have another reason why I want Grady to die in this movie, and this I read on IMDb trivia, and you just watched it, so you can tell me if this sounds right or not. I couldn't believe this when I read this, and I don't know who to blame. I'm not throwing blame. Maybe just a coincidence, but my notes say, and it says on IMDb, every character in this movie that is killed on screen and off screen is Mexican. Now think that through for a second and let me know if that actually rings true. Every
Let's
character that
see. So
dies is Mexican.
you got the oil worker, which I'm going to name Hernandez. Um, you get Pedro and you get Julio. Oh shit! And then all the white guys live.
What the hell? What the hell, man? Like, I couldn't believe it. I read it and I started thinking about it. I was like, well, damn. I don't know. I mean,
Well, I guess it's a
great.
good thing
You
I
could,
married a
you
Puerto
should,
Rican woman.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, that's my reason to kill Grady, just to give us some like death diversity. I guess I don't
Well,
know. Like,
maybe that's
Jesus.
why they didn't kill him. The Shriekers don't like mayo.
Oh, mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. Before we dive into too many cliches and get ourselves canceled, I didn't even want to comment. I had to throw it out there because I was like, damn guys, like all like geez, like yeah, all
I
the
didn't
white
even
character
think about it until you actually just said something.
all the white character that we have a fully white cast at the end alive, and like all the Mexicans in the movie are dead. Like, I don't
I mean,
understand.
technically, the one that hired them, I forgot his name. He
Mm,
survived because he wasn't there. He took off. Then again, I'm thinking he's probably like a political figurehead for Mexico for this
mm.
movie, which is why they were able to offer that much money.
Well, after they've killed a bunch of graboids, they've probably racked up now 575, well, I guess 5,000, yeah, maybe like 600,000, no, I think it's a calculate, like 300,000, like,
300,000 was how many they got when at the end of that whole montage.
yeah, and Bert's probably made himself a nice amount as well, but, unfortunately, one graboid they stumble upon is going through some weird process where it's, like, just, ugh, like, I don't how do you wanna
It's
describe it?
having indigestion. Whatever it ate, it didn't like. Remember, it's too busy eating Mexican food to this time. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Every time I
well,
eat Taco Bell, I'm in the bathroom.
you know what's funny is, apparently, like, I watched one video where, like, they made the point of, like, people from Mexico trying Taco Bell and be like, "This isn't Mexican food." So so Taco Bell is a very Americanized version of, but it's I wouldn't call it authentic
Well,
Mexican
so
food
is
by any
all the Chinese food we eat here too. It's definitely
oh,
not Chinese. It's all Americanized.
oh, of course, absolutely.
It's all whitenized. Let's say that.
Well, so we have, I guess, pregnant-ish graboid, indigestion, whatever you wanna call it.
I don't know what. Still, for some reason, I feel like because of what we see in the future of this movie, I feel like these shriekers are more of a parasite.
Mm,
I mean, yes, I can see this still being like a normal like monster pregnancy, just because we don't know exactly the
mhm,
monster's genes and how they react and all that. But
mhm.
later on in the movie, we see that these shriekers, after eating a good amount, they then puke out offspring of other shriekers.
Ugh.
So I'm just wondering how in the world does a shrieker birth a shrieker, but yet it took a graboid to birth a shrieker, unless a shrieker is technically a
Now
parasite.
I actually think you're probably onto something. That makes more sense to me, right? Um, Shriekers do seem like their own separate species, so it's hard to believe they're that connected with the graboid where the graboid gave birth to one. It feels like something, you're right, parasitic. Um, what do you think overall just about the idea of Shriekers as your villain versus graboids? Do you have a preference of like which one feels scarier to you, which one you feel like is harder to take out? Like,
So
I'm
in
conflicted
the
on
form of this movie, neither of them are very intimidating. I mean,
oh yeah.
at least with a graboid, it looks like it's a kind of a unless you're the woman from the very beginning of part one.
Mhm.
Uh, if a graboid gets you, it looks like it's pretty quick death because you're just going to be eaten, most likely crushed as you're going down its gut. But the shriekers are actually ripping you apart, eating you alive. The only
Mm,
downside is, this movie does not give you anything that tells you that these things are actually dangerous. You got
yeah.
Whereas at least the first movie showed you reasons on being afraid of a graboid. I mean, they're also strong enough to break through a rec room bricks, even though I'm guessing the bricks aren't as strong as that big slab of concrete that one ran into.
Yeah, I mean, remember the first movie, even though the second half of the tone is wildly different, the first 20 minutes do a great job in the first movie establishing almost like a slasher feel. They show people getting killed by the graboids. They show different death scenes. They establish it as a threat before our heroes even get involved. So, like, that's important for the first movie because you see the graboids pull down a whole damn station wagon, take a whole flock of sheep out. Like, that stuff matters for the movie. This one with the Shriekers, I mean, you see it kill 1 or 2 people, but it feels like off screen, and also, like, this movie gets so, like, comedic that it's kinda like you never get back to, like, in any way being, like, scared or feel fearful for our characters.
Yeah, and that's kind of why. I mean, you can keep a comedic tone with this, but if this movie, again, preference because I like gore. If this movie was rated R and they had a little bit bigger of a budget, they could have done great special and practical effects. Just watching
Mm,
these things just completely mutilate people.
Yeah, they definitely wanted to it felt like and I haven't seen the rest of the sequels, but it feels like with this one, they wanted to move away from Tremors being gory or scary. It moves more into, like, kind of like, just action comedy with emphasis on comedy, I would say. But the Graboids, I don't think are seen as, like, slasher killers, and then the gore is really not there, so
Yeah, that's fair. Although I do want to bring up something. So now I know this is it's more widely known nowadays. But when a creature gives birth to another creature without having a mate, it is not called hermaphroditic birth. Okay,
Mm, okay.
it is called asexual reproduction, otherwise known as parthenogenesis.
Mm, interesting, okay.
So
That
anyone who listens sees this movie and thinks birthing without a mate is hermaphroditic, you're wrong.
Yeah, you pointed that out, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I guess, they didn't really do their research with this movie." I mean, it's a very basic thing that they could have researched, but they
I
did
mean,
not apparently,
be
so
fair, I don't know about 1994 because I was only 2. But I'm just wondering how big of a thing was asexual reproduction. I mean, I
mm,
know a lot of animals do it, but how many people have had that term in their head when that movie came out?
I don't know, that's interesting. One thing I was gonna ask you about is just, okay, the visuals of the Shriekers. Now we have to talk about the bad CGI for a moment. I wanna tell you, what I learned about budget-wise, what they're able to do. So, what they're able to do budget-wise, they built 2 full-scale puppet Shriekers, 3 handheld puppet Shriekers, and then 3 rubber dummy Shriekers. So you have 2 actual full-scale Shriekers, 3 handheld puppet Shriekers, and then 3 rubber dummy Shriekers.
Okay.
Where the CGI came into play was any scenes where the Shriekers are basically moving, running, or climbing is where they had to put in the CGI. So if
Well,
they're
that
like in a
first,
a standstill position, that's probably still real, but then anytime they're climbing or running or moving, the CGI is the only way to pull that off.
I mean, I will say the first instance of watching the Shrieker run, which is when you first encounter them, the CGI didn't look too bad.
Mm,
But then when you see like in the around the end when they're sitting there like making a ladder to climb on each other,
mhm.
oh, that was just terrible.
It's one problem with the difference between Tremors 2 is that Tremors 1 is all about the graboids, which are under the ground. So when you see the graboids, there's enough money to, like, just have them be practical effects. You don't see them all the time. So there's never a point in Tremors where like, "Oh, bad effects." With the Shriekers being above ground and doing their thing, you get all these moments of like, "Oh, that looks terrible." Like, Tremors ages better because it's like everything's practical, so if you watch it in 2025, you're like, "Oh, cool effects." Shriekers, you're getting that weird direct-to-video 1990 CGI feel. You're just like, "Oh, that looks horrible." It's just like how they're written. It's the difference between underground versus above ground, so
Also, here comes another thing that annoyed me. Vic remembers when we watched, but I need to bring up another rule of gun safety in case people don't know. Because there's a scene where Bert takes a giant ass hand cannon,
okay.
which is supposed to be just a high powered rifle. So really, I don't think it really should have done the hole as big as it is. I can see it going through everything it did, but either way, he
Hmm,
brings out a whole big ass hand cannon, blows a Shrieker to smithereens, and pierces the truck that they needed to escape potentially.
mhm,
The reason I bring up gun safety is there is one rule that states know your target and what is behind it.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I understand you have this monster that's going to eat you, but like at the very and Bert most likely didn't know the truck was there, but the girl should have been like, "Hey, that's the direction we need to go. Be careful. Truck's
Right.
back there."
Yeah. So, so Bert finds out about the Shriekers just by getting attacked by a bunch of 'em, I guess, like, while he's out
And
there by
apparently,
himself.
he took on a few hand to hand.
Now, unfortunately for us, the viewers,
We saw
this
nothing.
actually this annoyed me to read this. they filmed the scene where he fights all the Shriekers, but they just took it out the movie. But there's a scene out there where Bert's fighting all the Shriekers with his truck, and we don't get to see it. I don't. They filmed the scene, man. Like I don't, because it
Why
did
would
feel.
you film
Did it
what?
feel off to you? I was like, whoa, why didn't they show us that?
Why would
Like,
you? I mean, it didn't really feel too off because I didn't know that. Mostly because it's like, okay, did Bert survive or not?
mhm.
Obviously, if you didn't know there were sequels, it's like, oh, there's a possible chance that Bert just died there until he rolls
I
up
would.
5 minutes later.
That would have been very disappointing.
But no, it is. Now that I hear that scene is there, it's like, yeah, why would you take away such an action-packed scene if you already filmed that kind of scene? There's other scenes you could have taken out to make the runtime the where you want it.
I got a feeling like the rec
You could
room
have taken
scene.
out part of the montage,
I
so
got a
we could
feeling
have
like
gotten that scene.
similar to the rec room scene in the first movie. That probably could have been the best scene in the movie. Maybe it was. Now we don't know what it is, so maybe it was bad. They just took it out. But I mean, the other thing too is like I feel like the dialogue in the first movie had so many classic lines. When this movie came out, I feel like the dialogue's not there yet. But also, did they realize the lines from the first movie were classics? Because I feel like if they did, they would have had Bert say some of the same things again. He would have been like, when he's talking about his weapons, he would again mention like, just the certain chemicals in the right proportions. But also when he pulled up with his truck, he could have been like, they attacked the wrong damn truck, didn't they? Or
No,
something like
so
they didn't know those lines were
technically,
iconic yet. So
technically, a lot of people really did like his line after he shows up,
oh yeah,
all
yeah.
covered in shrieker
That
guts.
was
He's like, I've been, I've been, what was it?
no, he ran out of weapons for the first time.
Well, ran out of weapons, but there was the whole thing about not getting
Oh,
need to
I
know
you know,
information.
yeah, there he had of the characters, he had the best lines in this movie. But I don't know, like I said, 1994, I just feel like at that time, they didn't realize like, "Oh, those lines from the first movie were so iconic, like, let's bring them back." It'd been fun to see a nod, but if they made it now, like the sequel now, they would have had him say those lines from the first movie because they know those lines are iconic. Like,
And
just
you
like in
don't
that
want to overdo the lines because then those iconic lines just get annoying. Like
well,
now, it's just
it's like
like
in Alien Romulus, they have the dude, like, at one point do the whole, "Get away from her, you bitch," or "Stay away from her, you bitch." That's again, he's just saying that because we know it's an iconic line from Aliens
well,
back in the day,
yeah, but
so
here's an example of a line that was iconic in the previous movie and got completely killed in the second one, and that's Candyman.
oh,
His
come on.
whole monologue when you
Oh,
first see
come on.
him in
Yeah.
the first Candyman, and then all of a sudden in the sequel, he redoes the line,
Yeah,
but it didn't have the same effect this time.
well, that's because the Candyman sequels are trash, alright? That's okay, I mean, those are
Either way,
trash
if
movies.
you do the lines wrong, it's going to fail. So you want to be very careful on how you redo some of these lines.
Just give me one. It don't gotta be both the proportions and the "You broke into the wrong damn rec room," but just give me one of them. Give me something to show me it's the same bird. I don't know, but,
This is the
um,
same Bert. He's just a little bit more unhinged since Heather left him
very unhinged.
and took
But
the HK91.
this movie needed it though. Alright. I just wanna shine a quick, attention to one of our additional added characters,
Kate,
Miss America 1974-ish?
October.
Alright, now help me understand something because we recently watched the first Tremors and I watched Tremors 2. In the original Tremors, Earl is lecturing Val on, like, basically, it seems like Val wants this sort of Miss USA type, like, specific body type, all this stuff. And Earl's like saying, like, they're good for nothing. They can't talk. Like, he's giving this whole kind of speech that makes me think that Earl is more into, like, sort of more handy type of women, let's say. In this movie, Earl is given the Val personality of like he's been dreaming about Miss USA his whole life. That goes
So
against what he's talking about in the first movie, doesn't it?
yes and no. So technically, he's tells Grady, he's like, the reason I have her up there is so I can remind myself not to go after things I can't get. So yes, whereas he wants October 74, he is put in his head that it's unrealistic if I ever met her or ever got to be with her. So I need to be with someone, if I ever meet someone, I can be with someone here and now.
Now, do you feel like now I could be wrong, but how I felt knowing after reading the background of the movie, that struck me as like, oh, maybe that original script had Kevin Bacon in it with Val. This feels like a Val character thing. Val, if he would have been the star, he would have had the Miss USA thing. With his personality fits perfect, and he would have like that doctor storyline would have been for him, but they took when he couldn't do it. They're like, oh, let's just transfer this over to Earl. It doesn't. I'm just saying it doesn't seem to fit Earl's personality type. That he was the one has the miss. That sounds like the Val thing, but and
To be
it
fair,
sounds like that could have been Val in the script easily. You could have easily just made that into Val's character.
I will say easily yes, but at the same time, we also didn't get to know Earl as much as we got to know Val.
Yeah.
Because Val, he was a very talkative character. Earl was your gruff mentor who's just like, stop messing things up.
But the other thing too that makes me feel like it was for Val's character is that the exact same story plays out. Like Val at the end gets with Rhonda, the doctor woman, basically. In this movie, Earl ends up with the same kind of doctor woman, the same kind of character as Rhonda. So it
I
just
will
feels
say
like he has exact same plot line as like Val in the first movie. So
plotline, yes, but I will say again, being not nitpicky, but nitpicky to what you're saying, is there are still slight differences because at the same time,
sure.
Earl, unlike Val had to get attraction of Rhonda through her actions, not her looks.
Yeah.
Earl was already attracted to Kate the minute he saw her. Most likely, probably subconsciously recognized her as October '74 and didn't realize it.
Whoa, let's forget about the subconscious nonsense for a second. You've had a picture woman on your wall for years. You see her in real life a lot over, let's say, a course of like a month, whatever it is. You're telling me you don't recognize her until she tells you, like, the picture's been on your wall for your whole life, apparently? Like, just funny that Earl ends up in the same scenario as Val in the first one, and the same type of girl he ends up with.
Well, that's
Um,
because with these movies, they want a good old fashioned
romance.
romance.
Yeah. And
I
and
personally don't think monster movies need romance, but that's besides the point.
well, yeah, I like it in the background as long as it's not like in the first Tremors, they never like put too much time on it, so it's perfect. Just at the very end, they leave the audience with a kiss, but it's not like beating you over the head. If the romance is beating you over the head with it, like then I'm like, okay, that's not the right movie for it. But I like the hint of it. Here, it's kind of like I don't feel the chemistry, the chemistry that Ron and Val had. I don't feel here with Earl and what's her face. So it's kind of
Kate.
like it's definitely forced for sure.
Well, to be
Um,
fair, Kate's not exactly a strong enough character like Rhonda, because again, Rhonda did a good amount in that movie. She was
yeah,
even part of the climax. She ran with Earl and Val.
yeah.
Kate, in this point, really, she was just a side character that if she died, I don't think anyone really would have cared. Same as your point with Grady. If Grady dies, I
It
don't
would have
think
been
anyone really would have cared.
It'd have been shocking though. For this kind of movie, you wouldn't expect Ray to die because the tone is so like not serious. You just don't expect anybody major to die. To a point where they're doing a thing where at the end, Earl is wearing, let's say, a camouflage where the shriekers won't be able to see him, supposedly.
Yeah, he's wearing
Um,
CO2, which I don't know if you've ever been around a fire extinguisher that's gone off.
no.
You can't breathe.
Well, I mean, Earl just takes it all in. Spray me down with it, baby, and
Yeah,
like just
because
takes it all.
I remember when I was young, I found an old CO2 fire extinguisher, sprayed it all in a bus, and that's when I found out you can't breathe this shit in.
Holy cow!
And that's how it kills the fire. It takes away the oxygen around the fire. So if you're surrounded by it, to my knowledge, could
Sprayed
be
on a
different because he's more open than a school bus.
You sprayed on a school bus?
Yes, with
Was the bus
all the windows closed, doors closed.
moving?
No.
It's like, oh, so you caused the bus crash of '97. Oh, okay, all right, all right. So yeah, I mean, so he sprayed down, is camouflaged. it starts to melt off him as he's in this little barn thing with all these shriekers.
Well, remember that I'm surprised it didn't melt off of them a little faster because remember when the shriekers apparently give off body heat, especially when they scream.
Yeah.
I feel like being around that many shriekers, that stuff probably would have melted off them pretty quickly.
Have you ever seen more plot armor though than he's completely visible in a room, stuck in a room full of shriekers, but we know he's getting out alive because he's Earl. I'm like, in real life, if that situation is happening, he'd be a dead man right there. Like,
To be fair, and again, if the movie took itself more seriously, one, it may not have done too well. But Earl would have been that heroic sacrifice, gets attacked by the shriekers, and then everything blows up.
yeah, that's not that kind of movie for that though.
No, it's not. Again, that's why I said the movie may not have done well if that happened.
Oh yeah,
But
oh
you do gotta like how
if you
Grady does fly through the air.
I do like if you still had Val, you could kill off Earl. But without Val, you have to keep Earl. Where the movie excels basically is just like fun and mayhem. The second half of the movie is once we have all our characters together, Bert's back and they're coming up with plans on the fly. You got Bert stuck in the little damn thing for like a long time. He has to lay perfectly still.
And the
That's all like
loader.
all fun stuff. And then at the very end, everything explodes. So I thought when Bert's hyping up like it's gonna be a big explosion, I thought that they're setting up like there's no explosion because he's like, I know it's gonna be big, big. I'm like, nothing's about to happen because comedically it felt that was like what they were setting up.
Then how are they going to kill the shriekers? There's way too many of them, and they had no guns.
I didn't know. Well, so wait, when the whole thing explodes, explain to me the dynamic of like 10 minutes goes by and then all the shriekers' guts start flying over to where they're at. Why was there such a delay in those shrieker body parts flying over?
They're probably about half a mile away.
My ultimate takeaway, like I said, I end up feeling it definitely takes a full blown tone change into more like comedic adventure. The second half of the first Tremors was already hinting at that, though. The second half of the first Tremors does kind of establish itself as like, I wouldn't say like comedy, but definitely like adventure, I would say. So this kind of picks up on that. This one's not taking itself seriously. The group together, even though I don't like Grady, it's a fun group dynamic, a lot of good fun lines. Once you get over the bad CGI, you let it go. And no, the Shriekers never really seem like that much of a threat. In fact, at some point, some of them seem rather innocent, cuttable, lovable, kind of like the Gremlins. Maybe not. Maybe I'm overrating that, but
Go ahead and cuddle with one of them. See what happens.
But for me, it made me feel like, okay, I do want to give the rest of the sequels a chance. This is a pretty good sequel. It could have gone to theaters. It's a solid entry. So for me, I'm not as high on it as I am the original Tremors, but I came away feeling pretty good about it.
I mean, that's fair. I'm the same way. I'm not too fond of this as much as the first. I do like it. It is a fun movie. It's just my major thing is I wish our villains, the Shriekers, were more more not entertaining, but more intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they can walk on land now and have predator eyesight does not make them more intimidating. In fact, as Grady says it, oh, you mean they seem smart because they're actually stupid?
Right. I also would have liked
Grady saying it.
At the very end, I would like the last scene to cut away from our heroes and cut away to like some person is hanging out somewhere else, and then have a graboid come up and grab them, just to reestablish the graboids being like, "Hey, we're still here, mofo. We're still the main villain of the series." Like just one last graboid appearance. We're like, okay, no more of the Shriekers bullshit. The grab or some mega-sized graboid, just something as a tease for the next one where you're reestablishing the graboids as like the main villain again. But
yeah,
nice.
They're not the main villain yet.
Oh man! All right, well, don't spoil anything for me. We're gonna do Tremors 3 eventually, so pretty soon, I think. But
and as always,
so
you don't have to go home. You got to get yourself a awesome Nightmare on Elm Street T-shirt.
And remember, they're under the ground, unless they're Shriekers. Then they're above ground, and you're just screwed anyway. So,
I mean, I was just gonna say, it's the spinach.